Today we are really excited to have you because we are going to go through our full Pinterest strategy of what we're doing on our websites. For most people, Pinterest is going to be the number 2 source of traffic on your sites. And we see that as well. It's usually very far behind Google, but it's still a significant source of traffic. And so we've put a lot of work into this video. You're going to see throughout this video, we've interviewed multiple of the experts, people killing it on Pinterest, and we want to know what they're doing that's working.
Return on my investment comes by me creating that good content or finding the content that's already sending me traffic and finding additional ways to monetize that. How I can make more money off of the stuff that's giving me the traffic already.
We're going to be kind of presenting the full strategy of A to Z, how to get started on getting traffic to your website from Pinterest, but kind of interspersed, just cut in here, we're going to get clips from those experts who have some really cool tips to share.
Creating content that solves the problem.
We have 5 experts that we're going to share with you, and also some of the things that we've been doing for our Pinterest strategy.
Yep. At the very end of this webinar, the last 5 minutes or so, we're going to give just, ABCD, here's exactly what we're doing for our sites going forward. But you're going to miss a lot of information if you don't understand the fundamentals of what's happening on Pinterest right now.
Right.
So this is freaky. This should freak you out. This is traffictoimprovephotography.com. Which I built many years ago and is still a very large site from Pinterest. So you'll see 2014, 900,000, 2015, 600,000, 400,000, 300,000, 200,000, 100,000 projected for the rest of 2019. Traffic from Pinterest is tanking. And this is not an anomaly by any means. In general, people are not getting anywhere near the traffic today from Pinterest that they used to.
Right. Pinterest has changed a lot as a platform, and we're going to get into later why that is, what changes they've made. Really, it's not even in the same genre that it was before. So we'll talk about that as we go along.
Yeah, it's what changes have been made, and also what we want to share is how to get around it as best as we can.
Right.
So here's the quick important takeaway. Pinterest SEO is dead simple. Don't let anyone leave the site. This is the Pinterest is the gulag. See what Pinterest says. They're now a publicly traded company, and they need people to stay on the platform. They want you on Pinterest.com. That's where they can show you ads. That's where they can make money from you. If you leave to read somebody's blog post that you found on Google or on Pinterest, they aren't making money from you.
Right.
You left the platform. And so the whole point of everything we're going to talk about today is this. And if you understand Pinterest's mindset of, I want to show you pretty pins that keep you here, but that don't take you off Pinterest, if you understand that mindset to begin with, you're going to succeed much faster.
Right. So we'll come and look at some pins now that kind of illustrate this principle.
So I just opened up Pinterest. This is not at all a hand-picked, cherry-picked example. I just opened up Pinterest and I was like, it's going to show what we needed to show. You look at this, and this was just the opening page of Pinterest when I did it. And which pins have text on them? They're also the pins that have that itty bitty little arrow, like next to Wikibuy, next to Backcountry, etc., which means it's an ad.
Yep.
All of the others are just pretty pictures. They're just inspiration. And you say, well, how is that possible? How is it that the vast majority of images with text on them are also the ones that are promoted, right? What's happening? Because you've got to think most bloggers like us, we're going to share images with text on it because we want to get you not just to see a pretty picture, we want you to go to our post of 21 great places to visit in Europe, right?
Right, absolutely. So it's really not about the text per se, it's what we mentioned earlier. Pinterest doesn't want you to leave the site. And they know that the more articles or the more pins have text on them, the more chance you have to click that and navigate away from them.
Right. If I just see a picture of a beautiful spot in Greece, I don't necessarily want to go to the website. I may want to pin it. It may be great content, but I don't necessarily want to go to the website. If something is, 21 ways to get cheap flights to Greece, like the pin itself has no value. It's just a portal to that post. And so when Pinterest sees, hey, if I show this pin, they leave the platform.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Pinterest is going to do? Bury the post, right?
Yep.
So let's look at how exactly they're making this happen. This is critical, and nobody's talking about this. Like, prick your ears. Please listen to this. That was very biblical of me.
Yeah.
Prick your ears. Nobody says that. Please listen to this. Nobody is talking about this on Pinterest. And if you just open up your own Pinterest account, you're going to say, oh, I have never realized that before. But it's how Pinterest works today. And I don't know why nobody's talking about this.
Right. So we have 3 types of pins here, and we've kind of named them with our own vernacular here. But the first one is called site intent pins, second, standalone pins, and third, exception pins. And they're aptly named. Site intent pins basically means you look at the pin and it's obvious that we want to guide you to our website.
Yeah, we want to get you off the platform to our blog post. Nobody sees this pin and is like, oh, sweet pictures of heaters. I love that. It's beautiful, and I want to pin it. No. The only reason this pin has value is because you click to the blog post. Yep. And as bloggers, again, that's what we want. Just if I get an awesome picture and pin it and it gets repinned 10 million times, it does nothing for me, right? It's just a picture, right? There's no reason to go to the site. And so getting text on there is pretty important because it signals there's value on the website from this pin. So that's our site intent pins. Next is a standalone pin. This is just the pretty picture or something that's just, I like this pin. I don't even know if it's connected to a website. It's just cool. I want to pin this, right? And that's when you go to Pinterest, look back at this page, right? Like I just see an awesome home decor, somebody who's organized up, this little coffee, drink, wine thing with pretty lights. Like it's a standalone pin. I don't need a tutorial. It's just a cool picture, right? Or a nice picture of a bathroom or a beautiful facade of a home, right? Those are standalone pins. It's not leading me to something bigger. It has value itself. That's what Pinterest wants you to do.
Yep.
It wants to have people stay on the platform and still find great value.
Right. And we're actually seeing a lot of people kind of, it's a big point of controversy is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Some people will say you have to put text on your pins because otherwise no one's going to want to go to them. No one's going to realize what they're about. Other people will say Pinterest doesn't want you to put text on the pins, so why would you? They'll bury your pins. So I can see the pros and cons of each one.
We have a lot of clients that are fashion bloggers. We didn't use any text. Some we do text only and no stock photo. So it depends on what you're talking about.
Okay, now we've kind of been setting this up by talking about text on the pins.
Right.
Because text is a red herring here. It's not that if you have text, it doesn't show if you, or if you do have text, it doesn't show if you don't have text, it shows. It's not that.
Right.
It's a little bit trickier than that. And that's why you need to understand this third type of pin that we call the exception pin. So food is a perfect example of this, and travel's another good one. So I can have this post, the best lasagna I've ever had. It's clearly a site intent type of post, right? They want you to go to their site to see the lasagna recipe, right? But here's why we still see so many pins with text on Pinterest. I'm very unlikely to be sitting down in bed, flipping through, and I see, lasagna recipe. I repin it. I'm very unlikely to just say, I'm going to go cook it right now. You walk with your phone, click on it to the blog, and actually cook it. So even though it's a site intent-ish pin, and even though it has text on it, Pinterest shows this kind of stuff all the time because they know you're very unlikely to just leave and go. Nobody just reads lasagna recipes for kicks, right?
Yeah, so there's other niches like this as well. You mentioned travel, where someone will see the pin itself, but not go to the actual post. And so Pinterest is very willing to put text on those types of pins in that type of niche.
So you see something like a ultimate travel guide to Greece or something,
right.
and it's a pretty picture of Greece. Somebody may pin it, may never go to your website, and so, they're saying, this person is interested in Greece travel, but they're not like planning a trip, so they're not really going to read this right now, so they're okay showing it.
Exactly.
So this really isn't that shocking when you think about it. I mean, what does Facebook do? If you post a YouTube video on Facebook, kabam, there's no way they're sharing that out big. If you post it natively, just upload that video to Facebook, they'll show it like crazy because that keeps you on Facebook. On YouTube, same thing. Part of their algorithm is, if I show you this video, are people going to watch half the video and say, I'm done with YouTube and close and leave? Then I don't want to show you that video. YouTube's algorithm is, how do I get people to watch this video and then have a great experience and want to watch 5 more and waste all afternoon watching YouTube videos, right? Pinterest isn't stupid. They're a publicly traded company. And every time I'm seeing people talking about Pinterest, it's like, hey, it's the same thing on Pinterest. I don't know why nobody's talking about this. We have to recognize what Pinterest's incentive is.
Right. Okay, so this is a big one. The best niches on Pinterest. So we mentioned earlier that a lot of the niches that are succeeding are the ones that women would take part in, because Pinterest's big audience is women, particularly like the stay-at-home mom type of audience.
And I've got to cut in, sorry.
Go ahead.
We're not trying to be stereotypical about anything with there. We're talking about statistically, and we're going to show the statistics there either. I get that there are many, many women who are interested in powerlifting and guns and trucks and everything else. Totally get it. We're not trying to be stereotypical here. All we're saying is, like, statistically, these are the categories that are winning. And we're going to show some numbers to back that up.
Yes. So if you take a look at the slide here, we have finance for moms, food/cooking, personal fitness, arts and crafts. The women that we interviewed for this video had those types of niches. And we quickly learned that that was pretty typical, that the people really succeeding on Pinterest were exclusively in the niches that you see here.
So, this was funny. So, in preparation for this video, as we mentioned, we wanted to interview whoever was killing it on Pinterest.
Yep.
And so we went to the AdThrive Facebook group. The only way you get in this group is you have a site approved by AdThrive, which is an awesome ad broker. We love them. And so almost everybody in that group has 100,000 page views or more on their site. So it's a killer group to be a part of. You have to be part of AdThrive to be in it. But killer group, we're always kind of learning things from people and stuff in there. And so this.
Yeah. The post that I made, because we noticed that everyone was in the same niches that we were interviewing, so I decided to post a post that said, have any of you guys seen success using Pinterest in a niche that isn't typical of Pinterest? And then I went on to say, we're in the travel, food, mommy, home decor type niches. Anyway, I asked this question. Usually people are super interactive in this group.
Very
People
active.
are so willing to share their expertise, personal experience, and crickets.
Absolutely nothing.
No likes, no comments. We didn't get any proof that anyone had been succeeding in any niche that you wouldn't usually call a Pinterest niche.
Pinterest is a woman's world, and if you really want to thrive, I think you kind of have to be in one of those topics that they are interested in.
Now, we want to make sure we're being super clear on this.
Right.
We're not saying nobody can succeed on Pinterest if you aren't writing about fashion. I guarantee there are people who are succeeding in camping and dirt bikes and fishing and tons of other stuff. I guarantee it. What we are saying is there's a demographic of people on Pinterest. And what we're seeing, anecdotally admittedly, but after reaching out to a lot of very successful bloggers, the ones who are killing it are the ones in those specific niches. I'm sure there are exceptions, but they are a little bit fewer and farther between. Further between? Oh, man.
So this is the statistic that we were talking about. We're talking completely objectively here. 93% of all pins on Pinterest come from women. And we're not talking about the users. Actually, men are growing as a demographic on Pinterest. However, anything that people repin, 93% of that is coming from women, despite 40% of new signups being men.
That's shocking when you think of it.
It's insane.
Men are clearly trying the platform and they're not sticking there.
Right.
And so Pinterest is always, every once in a while you'll see them put out a statistic like 40% are now men, and they're trying to get their stock price up and stuff. But then when you look at like how the actual repins, people actually using it, 93% women.
Yeah, men just aren't engaging with the platform, which means not necessarily that they're not using it, but all traffic that you're going to be driving to your website, it's going to be because of these pins that women use.
Health, fitness, recipes, relationships, parenting, motherhood, all of that's so big because those are the things that women are interested in.
Okay, now let's say you got a website like us. We have, I smacked my mic. If you have a website like us, we have a bunch of outdoors websites. We love outdoor stuff. And so for us, does that mean we should just stop using Pinterest? No, we are not saying that at all. What we are saying is you have to watch your demographic, and you may want to significantly change what type of content you're creating targeted for Pinterest, recognizing what the demographic is. So if your category is beards, don't stop. We have more information for you. Don't quit here. Trust us, we're going to get around. All right.
Beautiful picture.
That was so good, buddy. All right, so 3 simple setup steps. First, you have to set up your account as a business account. You can do a personal or business. If you set it up as business, you get the statistics and stuff. Sometimes I've wondered a little bit about creating a personal account if Pinterest is going to show your pins more, not a business, but I don't think that's a smart strategy. Make it a business account. Then you'll need to verify your site. That's where you show that you own this website that you're promoting content from. So Pinterest will have that. And then you really should consider adding metadata to your pins. So you'll see some pins, like you'll see a recipe that will say how long it takes to cook, or even some of the ingredients right there on the pin. Those are called rich pins, and you can get that, make that display by having the metadata on your website. Metadata is just hidden code about the pin that's there that the user won't really see, but that Pinterest will pick up and show your pin in a special way here. So I think very important to do. We'll link you over to Pinterest's article on how to do this at incomeschool.com/richpins. We have just a little pretty link to get you over to that post. All right. This is where it starts to get interesting. So we understand our foundation. We got our site set up. We kind of see how Pinterest works now. And now we got to figure out how are we going to get around the problem. We understand the problem. How are we going to get around it? There is literally one way to make site intent pins work. Pins from friends. I don't know that I worded that in a beautiful way. I want another crack at that one. But what I mean by this is it's also funny that there are quotations. I'm like quoting myself.
Right.
A wise man once said. Okay, so what I mean by this is that if we have this site intent pins, that first category of pins, one that's going to get them to our website, right? And we want these to show up. When you look at back here, look at that pin where I just showed what was on there, you'll see that sometimes we see pins that are clearly site intent pins that are showing up in my feed. It's not like none of them show up, but they're fewer, right? But those ones are almost always pins from friends. There are things that a personal friend who I follow on Pinterest has repinned, and so it shows up on my board. But then you'll see a whole host of other pins around it that are not pins from friends. It's the smart feed, where Pinterest is just trying to show you things that it thinks you will like and keep you on the platform, right? And so the smart pins they're rarely the site intent kind of content. Sometimes, but much more rare. If you're wanting to get your site intent pin to show up, you've got to get people to repin it so their friends see your site intent pin.
Right. We actually went to Jim's wife's Pinterest account just to kind of further check if this was actually true. She engages a little bit more on Pinterest than Jim does, which resulted in more pins that had text on them, the sort of site intent pins. And that was because she had friends on Pinterest who had repinned that content. And so you can do certain things like you're about to see with Tailwind and Tribes that allow you to capitalize on that sort of thing.
Yes, and this is where we're going to cut in several times to our experts to talk through some of these strategies, but there's one more kind of setup thing you're going to need. So you need repins if you're wanting a site intent pin to really show on Pinterest. And you only have a finite audience, right, of how many people follow you. And so what we need is we need a group of people that will work with you to repin your stuff, and you can scratch their back too and repin their stuff. Hence Tailwind Tribes. So Tailwind, if we have an affiliate link, if you'd be kind enough to click it, it's incomeschool.com/Tailwind. We can make a small commission if you use the software, but this is like the industry standard. Like if you're using Pinterest, you're going to need Tailwind. We're using Pinterest for our Creator Studio so that we can schedule the pins. So here's what Tailwind does for you. It's not that expensive of software. What it will do is you can load your pins in there and schedule them out. So it will be pin it multiple times so that it's fresh up on people's feeds regularly. And whoa, I was shocked in some of these interviews how often they're repinning to see the success.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to be on Pinterest 10 times a day, you're going to want Tailwind.
Every day we use Tailwind, which is a Pinterest scheduling tool.
I like Tailwind because I feel like you can get some of those metrics that you want. They let you see your virality rate, your repin rates, your follower growth.
And this gives me total control over how many times I'm pinning to each board. It's all automated, and it kind of helps you follow the rules.
The Tailwind has Smart Loop. And so Smart Loop is a way for you to put content into the loops, and it schedules it on a loop. So it will schedule it at however many intervals you want to, however many boards do you want.
I can get all my pinning done in an hour a week and have everything be automated, so it looks like I'm on Pinterest all the time.
It just gives you an easy way to still take care of Pinterest in an effective way and schedule and get your content out there without babysitting Pinterest and without spending hours every single day.
The second thing it does is it adds tribes. Tailwind Tribes are basically where you're just joining a group of people that are going to collaborate to repin each other's stuff. If you see that they're pinning a bunch, they've pinned your stuff, you're going to be nice and you're going to do it back to them. And they see, hey, this guy reciprocates, I'm going to pin his stuff. It's a collaborative community. So Tailwind Tribes are huge because we want to put site intent pins on there, and that's how we get them to spread. So let's jump to a couple videos here where some of our experts weighed in on how to succeed with Tailwind Tribes.
Let's do it.
Then I'm also a part of Tailwind Tribes, which is an official partner with Pinterest. And I'll share pins to my tribes, and then it's up to them how many times they want to share it.
Tribes are really great. And so I think people get confused between tribes and group boards. So tribes are only on Tailwind. Tribes are the people you like, and you're all trying to help share each other's content on your own boards on Pinterest. So you join a tribe of people who have like content. What's great with that is it helps you curate good quality content your people want to see that is on brand that you can pin on Pinterest without having to scroll to Smart Feed and having to see if it's stolen or if it's spam or all of the stuff that can happen on Pinterest these days.
So essentially, one of the big problems that occurs with Pinterest, especially when people try to use it to drive traffic, is that they look at it like the old Pinterest. The old Pinterest is a social network. The new Pinterest is a search engine. So don't look at Pinterest like it's a contemporary of Facebook and Instagram. Look at it as if it's like Google. There's real SEO principles that we can incorporate to drive traffic to our website.
Yeah, it really is very different. And when I hear this, I say game on, because
Yeah.
SEO is our jam. I mean, we have a network of sites with millions of page views that have come to our sites. In fact, I think we counted the other day, 94 million page views all time have come to our sites. It's just incredible. So when I hear something's a search engine, I'm like, what? Because I feel like I can play search engine games. So it used to be in the old days of Pinterest that, it was all, stuff from your friends. You would comment on each other's pins and stuff. Now the comments have gone away. It's mostly smart feed stuff, not as much just from friends on there. It used to be a social network, and now it's working more to a search engine. So I search São Paulo, Brazil, and I see beautiful pictures of beaches, right? And I see a travel guide to Brazil. It's more of a search engine. People who are getting interested in something, fitness, and they search fitness, and they see a whole bunch of content there. It's more about not just the search, but the browse part of it as well, but much less social. It's about finding content through a search or browse kind of a platform, and not so much about just, let me see what my friends are up to.
Right.
And I see great results from them. I think as of right now, I've got probably around like 33 to 35,000 followers on Pinterest, but my reach is in the 6 millions. And I think that has a lot to do with those group boards and them getting me in touch with other users.
So what we learned with these people that we interviewed is that you can implement these principles, these actual SEO principles, so that your site is able to take off through Pinterest.
Yeah, so, on the web, when we're writing blog posts and we want them to rank on Google, content is king, right? Like there are 1,000 little technical SEO things you can do to get traffic, and some of them kind of sort of-ish give results, but in general, you got to write the best blog post and let Google do its job. That's what we teach all the time on this YouTube channel. We have so many videos on how to succeed with blogging and get views to your sites. We're getting sites to hundreds of thousands of page views regularly. We've done it with multiple sites, and that's what we're sharing on this channel. So we're always focused on how do we write the best blog post that matches a search, right? And so on Pinterest, sometimes that just goes out the window. Mm-hmm. And people are just wondering, like, which tribe do I need to be part of so I can make this thing rank? And Pinterest is using an algorithm to figure out how likely people are to just enjoy this post. And so we've got to have good, solid content, and that's where this comes in. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is hopefully going to help us kind of train our brains to what type of pin can do well on Pinterest and still bring value to your site. The problem that we had is we were in that search paradigm, like I mentioned before. Since we do SEO, we can get traffic from Google. And so here we have to think about Pinterest with that content is king mentality. So here's the example of it. So here's a great pin for Pinterest. 33 awesome family camping hacks, and then it's got these things. Now, could you write that content and make it do well on Google search? Yeah, you can, but just, competing for the word camping tips, woo, that's going to be very competitive for something like that. So usually in a blogging paradigm, I hate that word, where you're thinking about blogging, you're thinking about something like, do Dutch ovens rust? How much does a Dutch oven weigh? What's the warranty on Coleman tents? And so with blogging, where we're finding the best success is question answer kind of stuff, right? And sometimes we're bringing in huge page views to one page on a very niche question. It's something that seems like, oh man, that's a small question. And then we get 20,000 page views a month to that post for years to come, right? And so we were just pinning that on Pinterest. We were writing our normal blog content and asking our social media manager at our Creator Studio to just pin that content. So I should mention our Creator Studio. We have an office where we have about 40 employees over there that are mass producing blog posts and video and doing social media and stuff for our network of websites. And we have somebody who's doing social media, doing Pinterest and stuff to promote our sites. And we just weren't seeing the success from it. Right. Well, we were just like, man, that was a lot of effort and it's just not doing anything. So we went to investigate why. And the bad and ugly are pins that we made. And, our employee's doing a great job. She's awesome. But we recognized a mistake that we were making.
Yeah.
The type of content just wasn't amenable to Pinterest. And so what we've learned is if we're going to do really well on Pinterest, yes, there may be some of the blog content that works and we can just repin it or just pin it on Pinterest. But mostly we need to start carving out some of our content to create content that's just shareable. Just things like how to build a cabin for $5,000, right? That we have this one that's hunting. See, we got the wrong demographic.
Right.
And the image isn't pretty. And so it just, we were close, but we didn't get it. And so we need to create content that just works for Pinterest, and things like best generators for off-grid cabins.
Not pinnable.
Yeah, nobody sees that and is like, oh, awesome, I'm going to pin this
generators.
immediately. Yeah, Coleman, baby. Just not exciting, right? We need things that are intriguing, beautiful pictures, that kind of thing, and the type of content that's shareable, interesting, intriguing, not question answer.
Right.
So that's kind of the paradigm that we want to walk you through. Look at your pins and honestly say, how exciting is this going to be to somebody who's pinning this? And then what kind of content could I create just as Pinterest bait to get people to this site? If you can do that and have great images, there I think you can start to succeed. And we saw some of our experts share some really cool tips about, pinning multiple different pins of different things and stuff. So we should check into a couple more of those now.
Right.
So let's say I'm just talking about one specific blog post. If I have 7 pins, I can actually share 1 pin a day to one specific group board and advertise that same thing every day. And that's totally fine because each image and pin is different, but they're all actually going to the same post. So that's one thing I'm trying to do, and it's helped a lot with traffic.
I put a lot of thought into the descriptions I use, and then recently Pinterest has started allowing hashtags as well, so definitely utilize those. I'd say I do somewhere around 3 to 4 hashtags per pin, so I've noticed that that's been really helpful too.
So what we promised in the last few minutes of this video is like, okay, we understand all the fundamentals, and now it's just like, okay, but what are you gonna do knowing all of this information? So here it is, here's our strategy. I should mention that when we started this project, we had really intended to double and triple down on Pinterest big time, right? We saw the opportunity, we're getting tons of traffic from Google, and now we wanna do some Pinterest stuff too, right? And we do. I mean, I've had millions of people come from Pinterest to improve photography over the years. But we knew it could be more. And so we really wanted to double down. In the end, we're still very focused on Google search. It's still very much our primary. And if you're new to this channel, if you're just meeting us for the first time, please give us a subscribe. YouTube's going to show some of our videos over the next couple weeks to you when you just come to YouTube. And you'll see if it's content that you like. It's how to succeed on Google and get traffic to your website and monetize it when you get there. That's still very much our focus. Pinterest isn't something we're throwing out by any means, but it's not really something that I'm wanting to double and triple my investment in.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you're feeling about it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a huge source of traffic for some people, for a lot of people. But Google search, it's what we're good at, and it's what will appeal most to the type of websites that we make. So I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, if I were in cooking, fashion, fitness, all those kind of things, oh boy, I'd want to get on Pinterest. Even if it's not bringing, the massive flood of traffic, I mean, my audience is there, and I want to be where my audience is. And here's the other thing that we should have mentioned earlier in this. This whole discussion is kind of colored by the way we're looking at websites. For us, a pretty small little starter website is at 50,000 page views. For us, that's a beginning. We're interested in the sites that get to 100, 300,000 page views, 1 million page views. That's where we're starting to get excited because we feel like we could build a business around that, right?
Right.
When I often hear people say, oh yeah, Pinterest is huge, you're ignoring it. Half my traffic is from Pinterest. And then when we dive in, it's like, but they're at a lower level. They have 5,000, 10,000 page views. And so 1,000 page views is really exciting. But what we're seeing in general is if we're having somebody spinning the work to pin every day and make multiple designs of pins for every post and stuff, generally I'm saying, yeah, you could have built a lot more content in that time.
Yep.
And I feel like the better investment might have been there. But we are investing in Pinterest. We are paying for a social media manager to do Pinterest using Tailwind and doing this because there is value in it. And if we're in some niches, there may be a lot of value in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that someday, if we are in that type of niche, Pinterest could be of a lot more value to us. But Pinterest is something that is changing a lot. It's changed over the past few years a ton, and it'll continue to change. So we'll continue to try to adapt, and in the future, if we're in a niche that it will be successful in, we'll definitely give it a go. But for right now, these are kind of the results that we're seeing.
Yeah, so one interesting thing that we're doing is our Pinterest boards don't necessarily match the website. So for example, we have Camper Report, but maybe on Pinterest, we just want to create a general outdoor board.
Yeah.
Because then we could grab people interested in whatever, Dutch oven, tents, hiking, etc. And then they'll also see our pins on this topic, on the topic that we're interested in. So you may not want to perfectly match your brand to your Pinterest board. You're losing a little bit of branding, but the way Pinterest is working, people don't, it's not really a follow kind of paradigm as much anymore. There I go saying it. And so anyway, just something to consider. And it's something that we're actually doing on some of our sites where it doesn't necessarily sync up. And then we have our Pinterest manager who's just going through our entire hit list of the posts that we're creating and is just flagging those that we think would be a good fit for Pinterest. And for those posts, we're pinning them and repinning them and putting them on Tailwind Tribes and trying to get on group boards and everything to get those pins out there. And we have seen some success. We'll see $1,000 page view spike on a post here and there from it, and some continued traffic as well. ImprovePhotography.com still gets over 10,000 page views a month from Pinterest, but it's also an extremely large site, and so it's a smaller percentage. So we are doing it, but we're not doing every piece of content. We're trying to be smart about what fits Pinterest and pinning that stuff. Now, when there is one that works, we are making multiple designs of a pin. Maybe one is just a pin, just a beautiful image without the text on it, and we're just pinning it. We at least get a link, we get something coming around. People may follow our board for just a beautiful picture from there. And then maybe we make another design that is very much the site intent, come click here, and we're sharing that out, and we're hoping that people will see that on their friends' boards and things like that to kind of diversify. But every pin has to be beautiful, intriguing, something that people really want to pin, not just that transactional kind of thought process that we're in, not paradigm.
We use Canva, by the way.
Yes.
For those of you guys who are looking for a good tool to design your Pinterest pins, Canva is by far the best that we've seen so far.
Yep, Canva. It's mostly free. You can pay for features, but it also does well.
So I just set up templates in Canva, and it's really easy just to drag and drop, change all the text.
Now, another thing is the images that you're using. We use 123RF for our stock images, and we actually negotiated a really cool deal with them that you can get that's way lower than their advertised rates. So if you're needing a lot of stock images, I really like that one. So you can check our affiliate link here. It's the one that we use. We buy thousands of credits a month because we use a lot of images. And having that perfect image just makes a big difference with Pinterest. It's like the whole thing is getting the great image.
Yeah.
So definitely something to do. So that's our Pinterest strategy. That's what we're doing on the site. We really want to thank these experts who took the time to be with us and share their knowledge. We are going to be posting their full interviews in Project 24, so our members can see those things kind of in depth what they're doing. They have some great resources. We'll put on the screen here how you can follow them. Jennifer's got a great Pinterest course. She is definitely an expert in this, much more than I am. And so awesome information from them. So definitely check them out and see what else they have for you on Pinterest. Thanks, everybody.